Thank you. Thank you for having us.
No
Thank you for
problem.
having us.
So we'll start with you, birthday girl. Congratulations. You got anything big planned after this?
No, just getting together with the kids for pizza later. So.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Going on. Hey, have you been on your bike? This weather's been
Yes,
so
I have.
nice.
Yes, I have. Yes, I
I
have.
would think so.
I would love to go today, but it's too windy.
It is a
Yeah,
little windy.
It's a little windy.
In fact, the Clinton County Solid Waste Agency is closed. They closed at
Really,
noon
because of the wind?
because of the wind.
Okay, that
All
makes
right.
sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Jamie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So are
Thanks
you
for
from
having
this
us.
area?
I'm not. I'm really originally from Michigan, so
Okay.
yeah, I took a job out of mortuary school as an intern at Snell Zornig Funeral Home. And I've been here ever since.
So what made you choose this line of work?
Well, I was going to school to be a science teacher. Realized I wasn't going to like teaching very much, and so the sciences are very much part of being a funeral director and an embalmer, and so it was an easy transition. So I left school, went to mortuary school, and ended up here. So.
Are there choices for mortuary schools? I mean, how did you pick the one that you went to?
So Worsham College in Chicago is like the second leading mortuary school in the country, and so and it was close to home. I mean, like 3 hours from where I lived, so it seemed like a good choice for me at that time. And ended up in Chicago, which was kind of a fun year to spend there, and lived and worked in a funeral home while I was there, and took a internship here.
So Ryan was in on the program. Was he at that same school?
He did go to the same school.
Okay.
Yep. A couple years before me, but yeah,
I was going to say he's much older than you.
much older.
Much,
yeah.
much,
Yeah.
much older. So what do you find most interesting about your work?
You know, just that every day is different, and we get to meet a lot of people, and it's such a privilege to work with people during a difficult time for them, and it's an honor to be there with them and be the person that knows the answers to the questions that they have, and kind of be a guiding light for them. So I think every day at work is different, and it's kind of a nice way to spend your day, and yeah, it's just a fulfilling career.
So when you tell people what you do for a living, do they find it at all morbid at all, or no?
Oh, you always get those funny looks,
Yeah.
weird jokes, funny looks, you know. But I don't know, we're just average people, and you know, go home to average lives, and still grocery shop at the same store, and you know, we don't sleep in caskets and none of those weird things. So that people make jokes about. So.
Mary, how'd you get into this line of work? You've been doing this for a while.
Actually, Michael is the one that's responsible for me.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike was down at the funeral home before me.
Okay.
And he started having some issues with his MS, and so he thought it would be a great idea for us to work together. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So he said, just come down and just try it. And that was, now I'm in my 30th year at the funeral home, so that's how I got started.
And you, of course, are the voice of Snell Zornig Funeral Home on our commercials
yeah,
here. You do such a good
commercials,
job
yeah.
with those.
Thank you. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about pre-arrangement.
Okay.
What do you need to do? What steps do you take these people through?
You know, it's kind of up to the families. Most of the time I have kind of like not necessarily a script, but something that I follow, you know, and kind of explain what the process involves. But oftentimes I just look to the families and say, what is it that you're wanting to accomplish? Some people want to get very detailed with what they want, what their wishes are. Some people are like, you know, I really don't know. I'll let my kids decide. So then we just register a lot of the pertinent information that's needed at the time when somebody passes away. So it's kind of an individual thing. So there's never any pressure. You're never pressured to do anything that you're not ready to do. So I take a very laid back approach to it.
Okay. I would imagine they reach out to you, or do you actually go out and solicit a little bit?
I do a little bit of that. We do what's called a lunch and learn. It's kind of developed into a dine and learn because we had so much response the first time we offered it that we had to do a luncheon and also a dinner. So that's one of the ways that we reach out to people. I try to follow up with families that we've served, because oftentimes after going through a situation where they've had to come up with all of that information, and sometimes in a situation where they don't necessarily have all that information, a lot of families find it very beneficial to go ahead and get things done then for themselves after they've gone through that.
Jami, do you play any kind of a role in the pre-need at all? I mean, does Mary have a question for you every once in a while?
Well, I mean, I'm more on the other side of it. So Mary does the pre-arrangements, and what a gift that is to a family. Because once the person's passed away and we sit down with them, then if Mary's already worked with them and all of the decisions have already been made, it's such a gift to their families to have that already done. And then when they're emotional and things like that, then they don't have to make those really hard decisions. Mary and I share an office, so we bounce things off each other often, and so she helps me with my job, and I hope that I help her, kind of navigate some things too. So we work really well together.
Yeah,
so
we do.
That's interesting. I mean, what are some of the things that you talk about?
Oh gosh, he's going to put us right on the spot.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
we do talk about
just about work, or
Yeah,
we talk about all kinds of things.
We talk
so.
about family,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
talk. Sometimes the guys don't necessarily want to chit chat about
Right,
some of the
right,
things that
so.
we enjoy chit chat. Me, of course, I'm always talking about my grandson. God love her for listening to that.
I love hearing about Everett. So yeah.
But oftentimes, since I'm in the pre-arrangement aspect of it, if things have changed from the at-need port, as far as like cemeteries or the different churches, maybe a contact person or just how things are done, I'll reach out to Jami more, getting more information about that.
Okay.
So,
What are some typical questions people ask you when they come in for pre-need? I would imagine they have some questions on their mind.
Most of the time they just kind of wait for me to run the time together. A lot of times people will say, I thought you had to do this or you had to do that. Well, there's very few things that you have to do in the funeral business as far as what families decide service-wise. And I try to explain to them that it's their wishes. We're working for them. We work for them. So, yeah.
So, pre-need is, what about the financial part of it?
After you said that, I thought, how much is this going to cost?
Yeah. That's got to be a question, yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a question. So, and I explained to them that I do go through figuring out what their service wishes are and what the things that they want to have from a merchandise standpoint, whether it be a casket or whether it be an urn, whatever it is. I will always give them a very accurate idea of what today's prices would be, so they will know.
Okay, and can they pay in advance?
They can pay in advance, and there are different options available to them for that as well. So I go through all of that with them as well. Sometimes the appointments can be a little lengthy. It depends on how chatty we are. Of course, I'm trying to build a relationship so that they feel comfortable with me as well. About an hour and a half. There have been times when they've gone longer, and sometimes I've met with families multiple times before they make their final decisions. So.
And I would imagine these things that need to be set up, making a reservation or an appointment, I guess would be
just to drop by the funeral home and
Yeah.
hope that I'm there. Sometimes not a good idea. I mean, they certainly can do that, but they might have to be directed to another day that I'm available, or if one of the funeral directors has time, sometimes they sit down with them as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, talk about your role as a funeral director in the pre-need.
So as a funeral director in the pre-need, it's more just following Mary's, what she's already laid out for that. But then there's a lot of families that come in that have not made pre-arrangements. So that appointment just looks a little bit different than it does when Mary's doing it, because it's the person making the decisions. And then when they've already passed away, then it's the family making the decisions for them. So, and we set up an appointment usually, if somebody passed away overnight or the evening before, then we set up an appointment usually for like first thing in the morning to go through all of those things. And even if they have a pre-need, then we still have to have an appointment with them, because then you got to set the dates and service times and have them sign the paperwork that needs to be signed in order to proceed with whatever services they've selected. So
I would imagine you probably have some really good contacts and relationships with the area churches.
Oh, for sure. I probably have more clergy in my cell phone than anybody else. So, but that's been such a gift and a blessing to me too, to have those relationships and ride in the hearse with lots of different clergy and kind of see different insights on life and things like that and have conversations. So, yeah. yeah, that's been a.
So do they ever ask you if there's an afterlife, or do you ask them if there's an afterlife?
I do get asked if there's anything ever spooky that happens at the funeral home, and that's, the big answer to that is no. I'm there by myself sometimes, and I've never felt anything. Or, I think everybody that we bring into our care is somebody's loved one, and so I guess I just view it like that. I would want my grandma. I lost my dad and my grandma last year, and so I would want them to be cared for by somebody like me who's just a normal person. So.
It's interesting because when Ryan was in, he talked about the fact that the reason he got involved was because of a funeral director in his hometown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when there wasn't a funeral director in my hometown, honestly, I didn't even know it was a profession, so I had never really had any experience with that. I think I was in high school before I lost anybody in my family, and did not play a key role in making those arrangements or anything like that. And so, but I don't know, this work just suits me, so.
She's very good at it.
Well, thank
Very
you.
good. Very good.
Thank you.
We are visiting with Mary and Jamie on Ladies' Day, and we'll check the weather right after this. If you're in the market for a new car, it's time to let First Gateway Credit Union put you behind the wheel of your next vehicle. They offer competitive rates and flexible terms. New and used vehicle rates start as low as 5.35% fixed APR. Call 243-4121. Visit firstgateway.org or stop by any of their 7 convenient locations. 10 savings, federally insured by NCUA. APR is annual percentage rate. Other rates and terms available subject to credit approval. Other restrictions may apply.
It's time now on KROS for the Storm Track 8 weather forecast, brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air.
A weather impact alert is in place for your Friday, especially as we get into the afternoon, where we're expecting strong winds, gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Mostly sunny skies will push temperatures into the low 60s this afternoon. Those temperatures will drop into the mid-20s tonight as gusty winds continue. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Currently, we have sunny skies and a temperature of 56 degrees. Winds are out of the west at 20 miles per hour. This forecast report on KROS has been brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air.
Why do customers trust Kelly? Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning goes above and beyond with a maintenance service agreement. For one low annual cost, you can save 5% on repairs, have priority scheduling, and no overtime fees. Plus, it helps avoid costly future repairs. And if you need a new Bryant whole home comfort system, Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning has many different financing options to get you up and running, whatever it takes. Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning in Clinton, your Bryant factory authorized dealer.
We're visiting now with Mary as well as Jamie from the Snell Zornig Funeral Home, and on Ladies' Day for the first time. So, how's it going so far?
It's going very
Going
well
good.
for me.
Okay, you're enjoying
me
it so
too.
far?
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
You mentioned lunch and learns. How did that
Yes.
all come about, and how did those work?
Well, it came about because it's getting increasingly difficult to reach people. Nobody has a phone, landline. We don't have phone directories, those types of things. So to kind of reach out to people that are interested, it was, I think they started in Des Moines and a couple of funeral homes there, that they would have a lunch and learn and just see how it went over, and it's gone over very well. So in an effort to reach out to as many people as possible, that's what we did at the funeral home, and just sent out cards, invitations, and then people just needed to call back and make a reservation. And then when the presentation is held, we went to the Lions Train Depot the last time, and it turned out really nice. So we have to try to get a place where it's easy for people to get in and out of. And then we have the food catered, so they get a full meal, and they have the opportunity to ask a few questions, but it's basically the whole layout of what a pre-need involves. So it's more of just an it is a informational setting. Again, no pressure there. I go around and try to answer any little small questions that anybody might have, but I try to get them to come into the office, or I go to them and get into a little bit more detail for their particular situation.
Are you the one primarily doing this, or Jamie, do you go to these as well?
I always come just to support Mary. I think it's important for our staff to kind of, be there for her. I mean, people see us on funeral days and things like that. They don't always see Mary for those days. And so I think when they come into the funeral home, they're used to seeing one of us, you know, me, Ryan, or Dennis. And so I just like to go and make sure Mary has the support that she needs. Plus, I think it's a really like informal, it's away from the funeral home. It kind of gives people an opportunity to be, you know, approached in that way, but then not have the pressure and not feel like they're coming to the funeral home. And,
Yeah, it's a little less threatening. as far as,
so. But
So
it's been
when's-
pretty successful, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
When's the next one?
The next one is May 15th, so I'm glad you asked.
So where will you have this one at?
We're going to try the train depot again. I haven't
Okay.
gotten the final things yet, but train depot, and again, probably a noon and then early evening again.
So May
time-wise.
15th.
May 15th.
And are you trying to do this like every 3 months or?
You know, probably that's a little too frequent.
Okay.
Every 6 months to a year is kind of what we've been doing.
All
So,
right. Hey, it's somebody's birthday. Yeah.
my gosh.
I'll let you introduce it.
well, today we're going to be playing birthday.
Break with the family?
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Pizza, and I'm not making pizza. I'm picking pizza up.
There
so.
you go. Now, I'm not going to tell you what your age is.
Thank you.
But my grandfather was about that age, and we decided to put that number of candles on the cake
Oh,
and
geez.
try and light them at the same time. We got them all lit. The problem was, by the time we got all of them lit, the first ones were starting to melt. And so we had wax all over the frosting of the cake, so it
I can believe that. That's
didn't
a
really
few
work
candles.
out. Yeah, it didn't really work out
Yeah.
that best, especially for us trying
Yeah,
to
the
eat the
numbers
cake.
would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is a great idea. So, funeral director, and I think funeral directors are so comforting when there is a funeral going on, especially like if you're a casket bearer, a pallbearer, because you don't know what to do.
Sure.
We don't do this that
Yeah.
very often, and you kind of lead the ceremony somewhat.
Yeah, we just try to make sure that everybody feels at ease, that there's no pressure on them. They're always nervous. I mean, I was a little nervous coming in here, Gary, and you put me right at ease. So it's the same kind of thing, you know. I'm used to doing it every day, and so those that have come in and not really sure what to do, we just want to really be, you know, guide them, you know, for the families the same way, kind of be, you know, a light in a storm, you know, to kind of guide them in the right direction to help them get through a pretty tough time.
So I am Catholic, but I would imagine you deal with a lot of other religions. So
Yeah, sure.
I would imagine they're all a little bit different.
Yeah, they just have different, you know, protocols when you get to church and things, and how they kind of organize their services and things. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of get the hang of it pretty quickly on that front. So.
And then you're the one usually at the ceremony, I mean, at the grave site to let everybody know where they can go for their luncheon.
Yep, absolutely. So, which, I mean, now we offer luncheons at the funeral home, so sometimes that's back at the funeral home. So
Yeah,
we're-
talk about that. Where is that at?
Yeah, so it's in the back of our facility in Clinton. We have an area in Comanche as well. So we took our selections rooms out like 5 years ago. You know, people are used to selecting caskets and vaults and things from and selecting anything from a computer screen now with all the online shopping. And so we kind of did away with our selection room. It was just taking up a lot of space there, and we put a kitchen in, and then so we just have it catered in, and then we just are hosting it right there at the funeral home. So it's kind of giving families, especially people that don't have like a huge group.
Yeah.
I mean, we accommodate like 40 pretty easily. I mean, we've done some up to like 60, 65. It's a little tighter, and we have to repurpose some spaces and things in the funeral home to accommodate that. But it's kind of been a fun, different way of serving people. You know, by the time they get done with the burial and they're back for the lunch, you know, everybody just has a little bit different feel to them. You know,
Yeah.
they're a little relieved and kind of just a little bit more relaxed. And so it's kind of been a different way of serving people and getting to know people, because then we have more time to stand and visit with them and things like that too. So yeah, it's been kind of fun doing that.
Yep.
Well, how long have you had that there?
So we put that in the remodel, completed in 2018. Mr. Zornig's lunch was the very first lunch in the new facility, so that was kind of ironic, I
Yes,
guess. But
yes.
yeah, so since 2018, so.
Yeah, that would be somewhat ironic.
Yeah, it was kind of ironic.
The
We had to
first
borrow
time-
tables because we didn't have tables yet. So we borrowed tables and hauled them there, and then had his lunch in the back of the funeral home.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
yeah, it's kind of neat.
So how are things going down in Comanche?
Comanche is just, I love working in Comanche. The people of Comanche are just, you easily become part of their group, part of their families, and they just become dear to your heart. And so, and Clinton families too, but just Comanche is just really unique. And I probably love serving the people of Comanche. It's probably one of my favorite places to be. We're not down there all the time. We have more funerals in Clinton than we do in Comanche, but it's just a great community to get to know people, and so
Ryan Veenstra touched upon that when he was in here, and he says you go to the funerals in Comanche, and he goes, like, almost the entire town comes out because they know each other so well, or they might be related.
Yeah. They do. It's a good turnout. Every visitation in Comanche is always a good turnout. So
Okay. So again, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
If somebody needs your services, Mary, what is the best way of going about?
Just give a call to the funeral home. The number is 563-242-0252.
And again, the next Lunch and Learn is going to be
May 15th at the Lions Train Depot.
Okay, very good. Thank you both for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Gary, can I just give one shout out?
Oh, you may, yes.
I promised my children I would say their name on the radio. So I have 2 children, 11 and 13, Kara and Brandon, and a loving husband. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. I promised them I would say their name on the radio.
No problem. Thank you.
Walker for 3, gets the shot. Rupp's gonna drive, leave it for Fulsang, who will lay it up and in.
Central DeWitt is returning to Wells Fargo Arena for the second time in 4 years and will face Norwalk Tuesday afternoon at 1:30. Live coverage on KROS and KROSradio.com is brought to you by First Central State Bank and Adcraft Printwear. Follow the Sabres from Des Moines on your local sports leader, KROS.
Ladies' Day will continue. Kim Rentz is going to be next from Keeping You Sewing. Things continue till 5 o'clock here today as we visit with the women. It is 1 o'clock. You are in tune to KROS Clinton, Iowa, FM 105.9, AM 1340. It's time for news.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The White House meeting between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky did not go well. The verbal clashes began when Vice President J.D. Vance accused Zelensky of not being a